What's the reception been like in Paris?
Well, Kieran, I just arrived in late last night. It's 7:30 in the morning here, Paris time, and about to begin the round of discussions at the OECD. But I'll be starting off with a meeting with tourism wholesalers later this morning from France, and looking forward to meeting with them as we discuss the wonderful news that the international border is going to reopen, and we're going to be looking forward to bringing tourists back, obviously. Later this year or early next year. So just about to begin those round of discussions here in France at the OECD ministerial meeting.
Yeah, I look forward to want to talk to you about the OECD in a moment, but the French government, the trade minister, what's been the reaction? Have they said they're not going to meet with you? What's happening on that? And are you confident that this delay in the EU trade negotiations will only be a month, that you will be able to get that back on track?
So the French trade minister, who I met with last time I was here in France, has declined to meet with me this time, but that invitation remains an open one from Australia's point of view. With regards to the EU, I'll be meeting with Valdis Dombrovskis, the EU trade representative, the night after next to discuss the 12th round of negotiations. I look forward to those discussions. We have made real progress in rounds 10 and 11, and now we obviously want to make sure this 12th round, which will take place now in November rather than October, is as fruitful as the previous two rounds as we really move towards an endpoint on this EU-Australia free trade agreement.
Okay, so you're still hopeful of securing that?
Look, obviously it's very much in the interest of the European Union. It's in the interest of Australia. When it comes to the European Union, Australia gives them that wonderful foothold into the Indo-Pacific where the economic weight of the world is. So we'll look forward to continuing to progress those discussions. Okay. Obviously, they haven't moved as fast as the UK free trade discussions. We were able to get that agreement in principle in the middle of the year, but we'll keep making sure that we pursue them because we think they're in the interests of Australia and in the interests of the EU.
And on those OECD ministerial meetings, I note that one of the sessions is a plenary on a green future and getting to net zero. This is a big priority in Europe, isn't it? You expect to receive a bit of pressure on that front because to this point, the government's still not committed to that target.
Look, I'm very much looking forward to these discussions and being able to explain in detail the process that Australia is going through at the moment, what we're doing with regards to renewable energy, the targets that we've met and continue to meet when it comes to renewable energy, what we're doing in the hydrogen space, extraordinary amount of work in the green hydrogen space. When I was in the United Arab Emirates, the CSIRO are working with their largest sovereign wealth fund on a project with regards to green hydrogen in India. They wanted to talk about our partnership when it comes to hydrogen in particular. So, look, we're one of the world leaders when it comes to looking at what will be the new energy sources which will help the world decarbonise. So these will be really interesting discussions at the OECD. Everyone needs to play their part, and Australia is playing its part.
Doesn't it reinforce the point that Josh Frydenberg made just a couple of weeks ago that international capital markets have made their intentions clear and our big trading partners have made their intentions clear? There is essentially Australia's got to get on board.
Well, Australia is on board, and that's the point. And can I tell you, when it comes to the Indo-Pacific, the approach that we're taking in particular is one that is welcome right round the region. We're doing a groundbreaking agreement with Singapore on the green energy. And there is great interest when it comes to India and other countries around the Indo-Pacific around that agreement. When I was in Indonesia a few days ago, they are very keen to follow the progress of our negotiations with Singapore on that agreement. And and might seek to join it. So the approach that Australia is taking, especially in our region, is one that is very much welcome. We have to have the technology and we have to be able to share the technology if we're going to get to net zero by 2050. Everyone understands it. It's very easy to say that's where you want to get to. It's how you're going to do it. And I can tell you, every discussion that I have, that's what's dominating the conversation. How are we going to do that? And they look to Australia and they know that we are actually trying to get the technology roadmap in place to achieve it. And they want to work with us. So I'm very comfortable that the discussions that we'll have here, that will be very much seen as playing our part, and they'll be very interested in what we're doing.
You've had a couple of days in the UAE, which you alluded to earlier, meeting with a number of ministers, and some indications from the UAE as well that they're keen on a free trade agreement as with Australia. How promising is that, and when can it be secured by, in your view?
Yeah, I met with the UAE Trade Minister, Dr. Thani, yesterday, the day before, and we had a wonderful discussion. They are very keen to do a free trade agreement with us, and they're very keen to make sure that we can progress as soon as possible. Now, when I was in India, we also had some real breakthroughs there. Minister Goyal, the Indian Trade Minister, is looking forward to move apace on a India-Australia free trade agreement as well. So I'm looking forward to going back and discussing with the PM and our cabinet colleagues the interest from the United Arab Emirates. They'd be keen to move as soon as early next year, January or February next year. So I've obviously got to consult with the PM and my cabinet colleagues, but they see Australia as a key priority for doing an FTA.
Well, that's promising. The other FTA, which we should mention, I believe that the final official signing might be happening over coming days in London. Is that right? After you're in Paris, you'll be finalising that UK FTA. Is that the situation?
Well, I'll be heading to London. We're still ironing out the last details on that free trade agreement. We got the agreement in principle, which was about 12 or 16 pages. We're now turning that into a 600-page legal text. There's always fine details which we need to nut out, and we're continuing to do that. But we're making rapid progress. My hope has always been to try and get this done and dusted this year. We're on track to make it the quickest major FTA we've ever negotiated, and I keep continuing to talk with my UK counterpart. We had a discussion when I was on the plane yesterday. We had one the day before. So inch by inch, centimetre by centimetre, we're getting there, Kieran, but there's still some detail we're working through.
So, but hopeful of getting there within the week?
Oh, look, hopeful of getting there within the week or by the end of the month. So we continue to progress. I can tell you we're leaving no stone unturned as we go through the fine details, but turning what was roughly around 15 pages into 600, there's always those I's to dot and T's to cross, but both sides are entering into it with the right spirit, and look, hopefully we'll have it done sometime this month.
Dan Tehan, Trade Minister, thanks for joining me live from Paris. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Kieran.